up here to do a task like this and look out at you from this direction, and let me tell you that you look good. You look old, like me. But sprinkled in amongst you are some young people too, and that's good because it leavens the concept of gray. I don't even have any gray. I met our keynote speaker for the first time, though I'd heard of him many times, in Korea, in an exercise called Pyeonghwa, which means, oddly enough, peace, that he led the U.S. side in. And let me tell you, we understood immediately that the man who knew Northeast Asia, knew the Korean Peninsula, was in charge of our team and made a great effort in that exercise. And we talked about him even as I came back to subsequent exercises later where he wasn't present. He should have known Korea, you would say, because at the pinnacle of his career in the military, he was commander of all of our commands in Korea, United Nations Command, Combined Forces Command, and the U.S. Forces Command, and came to that stellar achievement from other achievements that were almost the same in terms of responsibility over troops and men and women and so forth. He had been Vice Chief of Staff of the Army. He'd been commander of that command that I joined Powell at, the largest Army command, Forces Command in Atlanta, Georgia. And he'd been commander of the 1st Cavalry Division in Operation Desert Storm, the first Gulf War. Near to this instrument-turned cavalryman's heart, he also commanded the Dragoons, the 2nd Armored Cavalry Regiment, who, along with its sister Black Horse Regiment, 11th, actually guarded the borders of freedom probably more assiduously than any units in the Cold War against the incredible odds of the group of Soviet forces, Germany, in that twilight struggle. He also had experience in our war, Vietnam, as a senior political advisor and as a company commander. A phrase that I remember he used all the time that referred to Korea was kapshi kapshida, which in Korean means simply we go together. What better motto for this wall? It's what brings us here, it's what keeps us here, it's what rivets us here. Kapshi kapshida, we come together. What a motto. Not satisfied with his military service, when he retired in January 2000, he then became head of worldwide operations for the USO. So now affecting all soldiers all over the world. When I say soldiers, I mean them all. Marines, Coast Guardsmen, Air Force, sailors. And then, not satisfied with that service, he went to work for MOA, which us old-timers know as TROA. Let me see a nod of heads out there. TROA, right? And just last year, 2012, was made chairman of the board of the military, of MOA, Military Officers Association of America. So it is now over my time, and with distinct pleasure and honor that I introduce to you our keynote speaker, a great citizen, a great statesman, a great soldier, no stranger to the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Wall or Foundation, General John H. Tillelly, Jr.
I'm a lucky devil. He read that just the way I wrote it, so I appreciate everything he said. He left out a few adjectives, but I'll talk to him about that later. Larry, thanks for your kind words, and everything I am, I owe to the great men and women who I serve with. Fellow veterans, Vietnam veterans, Gold Star families, military families who are the heart of the military, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored and humbled to be here with you today on this hallowed ground on a very special day in America. Jan, many have given you accolades, but I have to say for all veterans, thank you for your vision, your perseverance and leadership. You were the catalyst that brought America together 31 years ago, and as a result of your work, the magnificent wall that stands in front and behind us is yours, and all the work you've done and all it represents, and thank you. You've heard folks speak before about how Vietnam veterans were treated when they came home. This is the wall that heals. And when we get that education center, it's going to be the wall that educates all Americans. And it will continue the legacy of the men and women who fought and died in Vietnam. On Memorial Day today, we join to express our heartfelt thanks and deepest respect of a grateful nation to each of our veterans, and especially the Vietnam veteran and their loved ones. Today, I join with every American in thanking all veterans for their honorable service and for answering the call when your country needed you. You answered the call where other people were unwilling to go. To our allies, a very special one here today, my friend from South Korea, the Republic of Korea, Major General Lee. I thank you for standing with us in Vietnam and in many other places. Where the U.S. military has gone, the Republic of Korea Armed Forces have been by our side. They lost 5,100 of their soldiers in Vietnam, as we lost 58,000 plus. Please pass along thanks to your leadership, to President Pak, to the Minister of Defense, and all your veterans, our great thanks. Thanking and remembering our veterans is a duty of every American. Today in communities across the land, I hope that all veterans feel the respect and appreciation of Americans within the United States. Today we have veterans here from Iraq and Afghanistan, and I ask everyone to join me in recognizing them for their great service to our country. Some Americans believe that today is the start of picnics, barbecues, and sales at the mall. They perceive it and they believe it. But it's a day where all Americans should honor the over 1 million killed defending America's freedom and those serving today to help keep us free. Today our flag in the morning is raised to full staff and then brought to half-mast to honor the 1 million who died. And then at noon it's raised to full staff to recognize those that continue to serve. It's men and women like you out here, their families, and men and women on the wall that makes freedom happen. We as a nation can be proud that our fight for defense of ourselves and others have allowed generation upon generation to live free because Americans fought and died and continue to fight today. When I think of what is going on in Afghanistan today, it brings to mind a quote that comes out of the book We Were Soldiers Once and Young by Lieutenant General Hal Moore and Joe Galloway, two great veterans from the 7th Cavalry in the first fight against the North Vietnamese in Vietnam. And the quote is, and I quote, "It was no movie. When it was over, the dead did not get up and dust themselves off and walk away. The wounded did not wash off the red and go on with life unhurt. Those who were miraculously unscathed were by no means untouched. Not one of us left Vietnam the same young man he was when he arrived." That speaks to the veterans today. It speaks of all conflict. Those with a less sense of duty to our great nation do not understand when strong young men and women fight against evil. The men on this wall, those of you that have sacrificed, we do that so their families can sleep peacefully at night, and so America will remain free. The 1% who serve today and their families, who also epitomize in my mind's eye, and excuse me, Chaplain, for my biblical quote, a quote from Isaiah. And the quote is, "When asked, who shall I send? Who will go for us? Men and women like you and men and women serving in Afghanistan today send me. Here I am. Here I am, send me." Here in front of this wall, we rightly pay tribute to the Vietnam veterans for doing their duty for our country. As we continue the commemoration of the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War, a grateful nation is finally coming together, and to thank you and your loved ones for your dedication to duty, selfless service, and tremendous sacrifice.